How's it going, everybody? Lampini here today, and we will be going over Week 11 of the 2024 NFL season. Last week had some good, interesting matchups. Still ended in positive 500 for my predictions, but got a couple games wrong. If we look at it right here, I did get the Commanders game wrong. The Steelers ended up winning. The Giants lost to the Panthers, which is pretty embarrassing. And the Patriots beat the Bears, which I'll have more comments about that a little bit later. The Saints upset the Falcons, and the Dolphins upset the Rams. But overall, I was 9-5 for the week. And for the whole season, I am 106-47. So the picks are going pretty well this year. Last time I did it, I didn't keep track of my overall totals, but now I am, and now I feel good that I know that I'm picking some of these games pretty well. So without further ado, let's kick it off with Thursday Night Football. And this Thursday night is quite a doozy. We have the Washington Commanders at the Philadelphia Eagles. So this is for first place in the NFC East. The Commanders were running the table for the last couple weeks, but the Eagles have really stepped their game up these last couple weeks, and they're starting to look like the old Eagles back in 2022. They are 7-2. Incidentally, their point differential is 72, while the Commanders' point differential is 73. So both teams are very, very good. Now, the Commanders were in a losing effort against the Steelers. They lost 28-27. In regards to that game, we had a lot of chances to win. We made mistakes. Olamide Zaccheaus dropping the ball that one time. So we made mistakes. We had chances to win. We played the Steelers hard. Jane Daniels played well. Terry McLaurin played well. It was a tough game. But we had a chance to win. If Zach Ertz converts that fourth down, who knows what happens? Controversial call. There's certain angles saying that he made it. If that offsides call doesn't happen, do the Steelers go for it? Do they get the first down? Do they punt it? We get the ball back. There's a lot of what-ifs in that game, and it could have gone either way. We were competitive. We just came out on the losing effort. What I'm happy about is that every single game that we have lost, we've at least been competitive. The Tampa Bay game wasn't very great, but like the Ravens and the Steelers, we were competitive in both of those games. My fear is that we're going to be seen as like the Dolphins, where we beat up on bad teams, but when we face actual good teams, good playoff teams, we fold and we're not able to beat them. This is going to be tough because we're going on the road on a short week against a division rival in the Philadelphia Eagles, who are looking very good. If we drop two straight, I think we're still in the playoff picture, but it's going to be tough to drop two straight after the year we've been having. So bouncing back and beating the Eagles on the road on a short week is something that I would really, really like to see. Fortunately, we don't have to travel very far to go to Philadelphia. It's not one of these things where we have to travel cross country. So it's a road game, but it's not as bad because we don't have to travel as far, like I said. Jane Daniels was 17-34 for 202 yards, a 68.5 passer rating. That's probably his worst game of the season so far, but no turnovers. He made some good plays. He was just rushed by a very good defense. Terry McLaurin had a good game, 5 receptions, 113 yards. I'm very glad that Jane Daniels is trusting Terry McLaurin because he was making some great, great catches. And he was the reason why our offense was able to really, really move the ball. Him and Austin Eckler were doing a great job. Terry McLaurin showing why he's the best player on our team, pretty much. As for the Eagles, they demolished the Dallas Cowboys 34-6. The Cowboys are a shadow of their former selves. This is like when the dynasty in the early 90s started to fold and they started to do really bad. And that's where they're at right now. It seems like Jerry Jones builds a core of great players, Ezekiel Elliott, Dak Prescott, CeeDee Lamb, Zach Martin, all these people, and then they age out, and then it's like, all right, now we have to rebuild with all these new players. But they're going to be rebuilding with Dak because Dak is still around, but they're just not very good. So the Eagles are looking like the powerhouses that they once were, which is very dangerous for the Commanders. Jalen Hurts was 14-20 for 202 yards, 2 touchdowns, and interception, 115 passer rating. He was sacked 5 times, though, and he also ran for 2 touchdowns. So Jalen Hurts is quietly making a very good Pro Bowl campaign here. He's doing very, very well, similarly to how he did in 2022, where he was runner-up in MVP voting. This is a very, very tough game. to call because the Eagles are looking like a borderline top 5 power ranking team. They look very, very good. I looked at their statistics. They are a top 5 offense and a top 5 defense. Sorry, no. They're a top 10 offense and a top 10 defense. So they're a good all-around team. It's going to be a tough game to call. I'm going to go with Commanders, though. I'm going to go with my heart just because I want them to win. I want them to reclaim the NFC East. I want them to go 8-3. Winning a game like this is going to be huge for team morale, but I know that they have a good culture now. They're a good team with a good culture, and it will be interesting to see if the Commanders' coaching can get over the Eagles' coaching. So I'm going with the Commanders on this one. I really hope they win. If they lose, I won't be surprised, though. So next up, we have the Green Bay Packers at the Chicago Bears. The Packers are coming off of their bye, where they came up short against the Detroit Lions 24-14. And the Chicago Bears lost to the Patriots 19-3. The Bears are now 4-5. They've dropped 3 straight since the Hail Mary game. I don't know what happened, but it looks like that all the wind got sucked out of them when they lost that Hail Mary game. Caleb Williams did not have a very good game. He was 19 of 30 for 120 yards, a 63.2 passer rating. He was sacked 9 times. You are not going to win a lot of games when your quarterback gets sacked 9 times. And it's no wonder they only scored 3 points. The Bears were in the running for the playoffs, and they are starting to crumble a little bit here. And like I said, it was all after that Hail Mary that the Commanders won with. So, very, very interesting here. I'm not going to spend much time on this one. I'm going with the Packers. It seems like the Bears are starting to crumble now. And this is why I'm really upset when people are like, oh, he's a generational player. And Caleb Williams, he's a generational player. You can't, like, no matter how good you are, you can't overcome a bad team or a team that doesn't know how to develop quarterbacks. Because the Bears still don't know how to do it. You know, there's been flashes of Caleb Williams looking very good, but just not now. You know, just not now. So yeah, I'm going with the Packers on this one. I think they're going to win. All right, so for our next game, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars at the Detroit Lions. So the Lions are kind of de facto the best team in the league right now, is what the general consensus is. They didn't really look like it against the Houston Texans, though. They did win 26-23, but they won by scoring 13 points in the fourth quarter, coming back and winning. Jared Goff was 15 of 30, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. 5 interceptions, and they won the game. I think that's more of a testament to Houston Texans than the Detroit Lions or anything else. They managed to win, though, like I said. 5 interceptions is insane, is crazy. And I cannot believe they won the game, to put it simply. But Lions are still 7-1, still the best team in the league. The Jaguars lost to the Vikings 12-7 in what looked like an ugly game. Trevor Lawrence didn't play. Mac Jones did. He had a bad game, threw 2 interceptions. Not much to say about the Jaguars. They're 0-5 on the road, and they're playing the Detroit Lions. There's not much to say about this game. I think the Lions are going to win. I think, like I said, they're the best team in the league. They are Super Bowl favorites, which I think you would never think about saying about the Detroit Lions. But again, here we are, and I think they're going to win. Next game, we have the Minnesota Vikings at the Tennessee Titans. Both teams didn't look too good. The Vikings beat the Jaguars again, like I said, 12-7. Tennessee Titans came up on a losing effort, 27-17 against the Los Angeles Chargers. Will Levis was back in the game for the Titans. He was 18 of 23, 175 yards, 2 touchdowns, 127.4 passer rating. So he had a pretty good game, but they ended up losing. Fun fact, the Tennessee Titans are first in yards allowed on defense. So their defense is pretty good, but their offense is just abysmal with either Mason Rudolph or Will Levis at quarterback. They can't do anything with that. Sam Darnold with another down game. 24 of 38, 241 yards, 3 interceptions, 48.2 passer rating. So Sam Darnold is starting to fall back down to earth a little bit. He was having a comeback player of the year campaign, and now he's starting to trend back downwards and playing kind of like how we expected him to play. That being said, I do think the Vikings are going to win. They are 7-2. They are right in the thick of the playoff race. They are the number 5 seed, and they need to keep this going here. If they lose to the Titans, that is a catastrophic loss for them, and then they're going to be labeled as phonies, labeled as first season team, all this stuff. But I'm going with the Vikings still. I don't think they're going to lose to the Titans. Titans are a bottom 5 team, so I think I'm going with the Vikings. Next up, we have the Las Vegas Raiders at the Miami Dolphins. You want to talk about a bottom 5 team. The Raiders are probably one of the worst teams in the league here. I know the Panthers are the general consensus worst team. I think the Raiders are too far behind from them because they just have no direction right now. That's the problem. It's one thing to be a bad team and to be like, okay, we have pieces in place. We're going to rebuild. We're going to do all this. But the Raiders have nothing. They have nothing. And this is what they've been ever since like 2002. When they lost the Super Bowl to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Rich Gannon threw like 5 interceptions. They had Jerry Rice. They had Tim Brown. They've been irrelevant for 20, 22, 23 years. And it's been the same old shit with the Raiders. They give you some promise. It gets taken away, and then they go back to being bottom dwellers. And that's what they are now. Like, they are horrible. They lost 41-24 against the Bengals. Gardner Minshew and Desmond Ridder were in the game. They had equal amounts of reps. Gardner Minshew threw the ball 17 times. Desmond Ridder threw the ball 16 times. It's a disaster. Now, I'll tell you what isn't a disaster. The Miami Dolphins beating the Los Angeles Rams. The Dolphins are 3-6. They have no margin for error, but you beat a team like the Rams. I don't think the Dolphins are as bad as their record says. Tua is the key to their offense, which I never thought I'd say because everyone says he has a weak arm. He's a physically limited quarterback. I don't know what's going on, but whenever he plays, they play well. So he was 20 of 28 for 270 yards, a touchdown and interception, and an 89.4 passer rating. He had a pretty good game. I think the Dolphins are going to walk all over the Raiders. They're going to improve to 4-6. If the Dolphins keep on going, they might be able to make a last-minute push here for the playoffs. When we go over the playoff picture, though, it remains to be seen. We will wait and see if they can get themselves in there. The AFC is very competitive. They would need a team to kind of collapse for them to have a chance. But all they got to do is play their football. They got their quarterback back. And it seems like when Tua plays, the Dolphins are a good team. So I'm going with the Dolphins. Next up, we have the Los Angeles Rams at the New England Patriots. Like I had said, the Rams lost out to the Patriots. The Patriots are now 3-7. They had a pretty good victory against the Bears. I'm going to keep this brief, though. The Rams are a better team than the Patriots. They have Puka Nacua. They have Cooper Kupp. I almost said Cooper Nacua. Puka Kupp. But as long as Matt Stafford, as long as Kyron Williams, as long as Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua are on the field, their offense is going to operate on all cylinders. And I don't think the Patriots are a good enough team where they can beat them. I am going to go with the Rams on this one. I think they're going to win. They are trying to vie for a wild card spot. At 4-5, they're struggling to do that. They really need to step up their game. I think they're going to do just that against the Patriots. I'm going with the Rams on this one. So next game, we have the Cleveland Browns at the New Orleans Saints. Two teams that had a lot of expectations but have now fallen to the wayside. But I will say this. The Saints did have a good victory against the Atlanta Falcons. They upset the Falcons. Derek Carr had a good game, 16-25, 269 yards. 2 touchdowns, 126.9 passer rating. I know I've said this before, but I think Derek Carr is the best bad quarterback in the league. He has all the intangibles to be in what I like to call the Kirk Cousins tier. The Kirk Cousins tier being guys like the aforementioned Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, Trevor Lawrence, Russell Wilson. Derek Carr is one of them. These guys that are like, They are like franchise quarterbacks, but they're not game changers like Lamar Jackson or Josh Allen or Joe Burrow or some of these guys that are in the upper echelon. But you can win with them, but you don't win because of them. I think that's one of the discussions that I've made with some of these quarterbacks. You win in spite of, you win with, and you win because of. And I'd say Derek Carr is one of those guys where you say like you win with them, but it seems like everywhere he goes, he doesn't do well. Despite having good stats. I don't know. But the Browns lost out to the Chargers. They were coming off of a bye week. Jameis Winston was 26 of 46, 235 yards, a touchdown, 3 interceptions, a 50.5 passer rating. We're now seeing why Jameis Winston is not a starter in this league. The media loves him. They love his energy. But he throws too many interceptions. To put it simply, he throws too many interceptions. He doesn't take care of the ball, turns the ball over too much. You can't be a starting quarterback in the league when that happens, to put it simply. So I'm going to go with the Saints on this one. The Browns are just not a good team. And I think that Derek Carr and the Saints had a very good win against the Falcons. It's at home, and I don't think the Browns are good enough to beat them. So I'm going with the Saints on this one. All right, so for this next game, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the New York Jets. These are two teams that are really, really struggling. They're two teams in disarray. The Jets have no morale. They're just a bunch of guys. They're not a team. They're just a roster with a lot of talent, but they're not bringing it together. Interim coach. I mean, this is what happens when you think that just getting superstars on the team help you win. You have no cohesion. And it looked like that against the Arizona Cardinals. They lost 31-6. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Aaron Rodgers had nothing. He didn't have a game. It was nothing. No touchdowns, no interceptions. They didn't do anything on offense. They scored 6 points. As for the Colts, they were disappointing in their showing as well. They put Joe Flacco in over Anthony Richardson because they were 4-5. They were like, we can make a push for the playoffs. We have all this talent on the team. So we're going to put in Joe Flacco because he gives us our best chance to win. What does he do on his first pass? He throws a pick six. So I don't know if you put in Anthony Richardson back in or what, but Joe Flacco threw 3 interceptions. Jonathan Taylor had a good game. He had 21 carries for 114 yards, averaged 5.4 yards a carry. So Jonathan Taylor is still playing like Jonathan Taylor, but like I don't know who you go for in this game because both teams are such a disappointment. But I think the Jets are more of a disappointment than the Colts. They're more of a team in disarray. I'm going to go with the Colts. I think they're going to win. So next up, we have quite a doozy here. We have the Baltimore Ravens at the Pittsburgh Steelers. This game is going to be very, very telling to see who is the crop of the AFC, of the entire AFC. Because say what you want about the Steelers, I don't think a lot of people have been giving them a lot of attention. But coming from someone who played them, I've been saying this all year. They are a solid, well-coached team. Mike Tomlin going with Russell Wilson over Justin Fields was a great choice. Russell Wilson is back. Like I said, you win with him. He's not one of these guys that he can go into Denver, get his own office, be treated like he's Tom Brady, to be treated like he's Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, get all this preferential treatment. He's not that kind of quarterback. He's not good enough that he can do that. Can he operate in a system, make the throws he needs to make the plays he needs to make? Absolutely. Because that's what he did in Seattle. Russell Wilson didn't run the show in Seattle. Pete Carroll did. That's like, Tom Brady ran the show in Tampa Bay, for example, and to an extent in New England, right? But Russell Wilson's not that kind of quarterback. And now he's in a place where he can really thrive. And I think that they've really, really opened the floodgates. And I think the Steelers are, if they weren't in the power rankings before, they're in the power rankings now. That being said, though, the Ravens are still looking electric. Their defense hasn't looked great, but Lamar Jackson was 25 of 33, 290 yards, 4 touchdowns, 141.4 passer rating. Lamar Jackson is a front runner for the MVP. He really is. He has a chance to win his second straight MVP and his third MVP of his career. He continues to exceed expectations. He's always been a great quarterback, and everyone's been saying, "Oh, he's so great," but now he's making a case of being the best quarterback in the league. Like Mahomes is having an off year. Like it always used to be Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen. Now it's Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. He is just it's incredible what he's been doing, and it's incredible how his passing has gotten better. He's incredible. Meanwhile, Russell Wilson was 14 of 28, 195 yards, 3 touchdowns, an interception, a 93.6 passer rating. George Pickens had 5 receptions for 91 yards and 1 incredible touchdown. I watched it. That guy is on another level. He's insane. This is going to be a really, really good game, and this is probably what I'm going to watch in the 1 p.m. slate. God. I don't know who I'm going for here. I think I'm going to go with the Ravens because Derrick Henry is so unstoppable. Lamar Jackson is so unstoppable. They were able to stop Derrick Henry a little bit. They were able to stop him a little bit in the Bengals game. And they do have a good defensive line, the Steelers do. But I feel like with how Lamar has been throwing, you can't stack the box against Derrick Henry. So then Derrick Henry's going to run roughshod. That's the problem, and that's what I knew was going to happen with the Ravens dominating like this. Lamar is an underrated passer. He's a very good passer. So if you compensate, then you open up you open it up for not only him to run, but for Derrick Henry to run. The Steelers do have a very good defense, but I am going to go with the Ravens. I think they're going to win. Next up, we have the Atlanta Falcons at the Denver Broncos. The Falcons are first in their division. They lost out to the New Orleans Saints, like I said, 20-17, and the Broncos came very close to being the first team to beat the Chiefs this year. They lost to a blocked field goal. How ridiculous is that? Kirk Cousins was 23 of 38 for 306 yards and an interception, 75.1 passer rating. The real star of the show for the Falcons was Bijan Robinson. He had 20 carries for 116 yards, 2 rushing touchdowns, averaged 5.8 yards a carry. Very good performance. Speaking of a very good performance, Bo Nix had a very good game. 22 of 30 for 215 yards, 2 touchdowns, 115.3 passer rating. Bo Nix is very lucky that he has Sean Payton with him. We were wondering if Sean Payton was really that great of a head coach last year, but he's really starting to come into his own. Not come into his own, but he's really started to show that he is able to get the most out of his team, right? Like I feel like the Broncos don't have a good roster, but Sean Payton is coaching them well enough that they're being competitive. That being said, I am going to go with the Falcons on this one. I think that they need a good bounce-back win, and I think the Falcons are a legitimately good team. It's just you never know what happens in divisional matchups at home. Derek Carr is a good quarterback, a decent quarterback. I don't think the Broncos are good enough to beat the Falcons. They were really exposed against the Ravens when they just got destroyed. They had one of the easiest strengths of schedule, and they very easily made it to 5-3 by beating some really, really bad teams. So I'm going to go with the Falcons on this one. I think they're going to win. All right, so now we are on to the Seattle Seahawks at the San Francisco 49ers. So this division is wide open. The Rams are 4-5. The Seahawks are 4-5. The 49ers are 5-4. And then the Cardinals are 6-4. So that division is ripe for the taking. The 49ers have not been the best team this year, though, as good as we expected them to be. Christian McCaffrey had his first game back, but he had a very underwhelming performance. Brock Purdy, though, 25 of 36 for 353 yards and 2 touchdowns, 119.3 passer rating. They beat the Tampa Bay Buccaneers 23-20. Once again, Brock Purdy's doing what he does. He's playing very well. He's in the Kirk Cousins tier, though, of winning with, but he's playing well. I mean, all this stuff saying he's a game manager, not for me. I think he's a franchise quarterback. He's a starting quarterback in this league. But I do think the 49ers are going to be in big trouble when they finally pay him and give him his contract, because then there's less cap space for the rest of the roster, and their Super Bowl window will start closing. As for the Seahawks, they are also coming off of a bye where they lost to the Los Angeles Rams. Geno Smith was 21 of 34, 363 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, a 90.7 passer rating, and he was sacked 7 times. Geno Smith, I think, still leads the league in passing. He's doing what he does, but they need to search for another quarterback, I think. I think the Geno Smith experiment in Seattle has ran its course, and I don't think that we're going to really see any more from Geno Smith or any more, like, solid seasons like he's had before. He's just going to be a very middle-of-the-road, low-tier, Kirk Cousins tier quarterback. And I think he's going to go back to backup duty soon. He reminds me a lot of Tyrod Taylor, where Tyrod Taylor was a backup, and then he got a chance to start with the Bills for 3 years. He was a Pro Bowler 1 year. He did well, but your success is limited with him, and then he went back to being a backup. I think the same thing's going to happen with Geno Smith, but listen, he revitalized career and got to show some stuff to people, so I'll give him that. It's a divisional round matchup, so you never know what could happen, but I am still going to go with the San Francisco 49ers on this one. I think they're going to win. So this next game is going to be great. We have the Kansas City Chiefs at the Buffalo Bills. If you've watched any kind of football in the last 5 years, you would know that the hottest rivalry right now is the Kansas City Chiefs at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills have lived in the Chiefs' shadow for the past 3 years, or past 5 years, really. They had that incredible playoff game in 2022, I think. That was just absurd. You've all seen it. You all know what happened. But that being said, the Chiefs have beaten the Bills 3 times in the playoffs. However, the Bills have done very good at beating the Chiefs in the regular season. The Bills scored 30 against the Indianapolis Colts. I'd say these are 2 of the best teams in the entire league. Patrick Mahomes in his game, 28 of 42, 266 yards, a touchdown, a 92 passer rating. So Mahomes is starting to really dial it back in. He was not doing very well the first half of the season, but he's starting to dial it back in now, and this is when it gets a bit dangerous because he didn't have a very good year last year, but he killed it in the playoffs. And then Josh Allen, he had a pretty bad game, actually. 22 of 37 for 280 yards, 2 interceptions, a 60.6 passer rating. So not the best performance by him. He was an MVP frontrunner, but he's been having a couple off games. So I think he's gonna be a Pro Bowler, but I don't think he's gonna be the MVP. If the Chiefs were going to lose a game, at home against the Bills is a very good one to pick. And for that reason, I am going to go with the Bills. I just think that the Chiefs have been winning through a lot of devil magic, like the Steelers, like Tom Brady did back in the day. I think that's going to run out against a very, very good Bills team. I say it every week. We know who the Bills are. They're a great regular season team. They're a great playoff team too. They just can't get through the Chiefs. If they can beat the Chiefs in the regular season, that might give them some confidence in the playoffs, but chances are these 2 are going to meet each other in the playoffs. So I'm going with the Bills. So next up, we have the Sunday night game. We have the Cincinnati Bengals at the Los Angeles Chargers. So this is a very, very interesting game because the Chargers have quietly become one of the best teams in the league. They are 6-3. They have one of the best defenses in the league. Justin Herbert is doing what he does. 14 of 18, 164 yards, a touchdown, 123.1 passer rating. They beat the Titans 27-17. Listen, they've been solid all year. I am interested to see how they're going to do in the playoffs, because they have not beaten the best teams. The Bengals are 4-6. And they are in panic mode. You know, they have been fighting. They have been digging themselves out of a hole ever since they were 1-3. And this is a game that they can win. They can win this game. They could have beaten the Ravens too. Like they come close to beating a lot of these good teams. So they are not a bad team. They're not a slouch by any stretch. And they can get hot at any moment and make a run. So this is going to be a very, very interesting game, and I'm very excited for this primetime game. Joe Burrow once again had a great game against the Ravens. He was 34 of 56 for 428 yards, 4 touchdowns, 108.3 passer rating. And then Jamar Chase, 11 receptions, 264 yards, and 3 touchdowns. One of the best games a wide receiver's ever had ever. 264 yards and 3 touchdowns. If it's not going to be Derrick Henry, Jamar Chase is going to be Offensive Player of the Year. Very impressive showing by him. This game could go either way. I think this would be a huge win for the Chargers if they manage to beat the Bengals, because I feel like the Bengals have a better reputation than the Chargers, because the Bengals have had playoff success recently. They made the Super Bowl a couple years ago, and then they followed it up by making the conference championship. The Chargers haven't had that kind of playoff success yet, so this would be a big win for the Chargers if they manage to pull it off, but the Bengals are desperate for a win. They're in win now. They need to win this game. I think that desperation is going to show through, but the Chargers defense has just been too good. They have allowed, I want to say it's been like the least amount of points in the entire league. The Chargers have allowed 118 points on the season. Yeah, that puts them in first by a considerable margin. They've allowed 118 points this whole season. Second place to them is the Steelers with 146. So I think the Chargers defense is just a little too good. I think they're going to be able to stymie the Bengals, and I think they're going to do just enough to win. I think the Chargers are going to win, but I would try and watch that game because it's going to be really, really good. And now we come to the Monday game. The Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans, the Battle of Texas. It's in Dallas. But boy howdy, is it great that the Cowboys are self-destructing. I love to see it. They are basically, they're an old unit. It's starting to show. The glory days are done. Think about all those great regular seasons that the Cowboys had these last couple years and how they have nothing to show for it. They had 3 straight seasons with a plus 100 point differential. They won 1 playoff game against a weakened Tampa Bay team, I believe. I can't remember who it was. I think it was Tampa. But they're done. They're so done. And the best part is the Cowboys are never going to be anything if Jerry Jones is their owner. He holds back that team, and he doesn't even know it. And coming from someone who had Dan Snyder as the owner, it's very hard to overcome bad ownership. And the Cowboys have it. So not much to say. I think the Texans are going to win. They're 6-3. They've had some tough luck, and they haven't looked like the Texans that we expected them to be. C.J. Stroud was 19 of 33 for 232 yards, a touchdown, 2 interceptions, 64.2 passer rating. He was sacked 4 times. C.J. Stroud is having a sophomore slump. Now, I don't think he's a bad quarterback. I just think he's having a sophomore slump. But they're not going to lose to the Cowboys. The Cowboys are a bad team. They're a bad team, bro. And it is so fun to see. So I'm going with the Texans. So that ends the predictions for Week 11. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. We are not going to go over the point differentials anymore. We're going to do the power rankings, and then we're going to go over the playoff picture if the season were to end today. So power rankings, I'm going to be very quick with it. Lions are number 1. They are the number 1 team. Not only do they have the highest point differential, but their simple rating system that the Pro Football Reference gives them, the simple rating system is team quality relative to average. They are 13.4 for the simple rating system, and that puts them at first over everybody. The second team is the Buffalo Bills at 8, and the Lions are 13.4. So if we're going by statistics, the Lions are an incredible team. Number 2, I'm going to go with the Chiefs. They are still 9-0. They're still finding ways to win games. And the reason why I have them higher is Mahomes is starting to play better now. Now that Mahomes isn't throwing an interception in every single game, they're looking better than they ever have. And they've been able to win ugly. So now that they feel like they're playing better, they're going to be able to do it. Number 3, I'm going with the Buffalo Bills. They are, again, they have the highest point differential in the AFC at positive 97. They're the same Bills team that we've always seen in the past couple years. So they're number 3. Now this is where it gets interesting, because a lot of teams could fill this, because I feel like the AFC has a lot more tough teams than the NFC. Unfortunately, I don't think the Commanders are in the top 5 anymore. The Eagles have quietly gotten themselves into the discussion. And then you have the Steelers, Chargers, and Ravens, right? So I would say in terms of like quality teams that could make a run, I'm looking at the Bills, Steelers, Chargers, Ravens, Chiefs, Lions, Eagles, and Commanders. Those 8 teams, I'd say, are like the best of the best, right? For number 4, I'm going to go with the Steelers because I saw them play. They have a solid defense. They have stars everywhere on defense. And it's the same thing with the Chiefs. I think they are better than they were at the beginning of the season now that they have Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson has really unlocked that offense, and they are playing a lot better than they were with Justin Fields. So Steelers are number 4. And number 5, I'm going to go with the Ravens. They have the MVP. They have the Offensive Player of the Year. Their defense is a bit speculative, but their offense is so damn good. The Ravens have the experience. I'm going to go with the Ravens for number 5. So this is what we have. Number 1, Lions. We have number 1, Lions. Number 2, Chiefs. Number 3, Bills. Number 4, Steelers. Number 5, Ravens. That is my power rankings. So now we look at the playoff picture. Courtesy of 33rd Team on Instagram, this is their playoff picture. Big fan of it. I like the graphics, so I decided to take it. Hopefully you guys don't mind that. So as you guys can see, the Chiefs and the Lions have the byes. They are either going to face the winner of the Ravens and Texans or the Vikings and Cardinals, respectively. I don't think, well, the Ravens have a chance maybe to beat the Chiefs, but I don't think the Vikings or the Cardinals are going to beat the Lions. So I don't really see that happening. Then we have, on the other side of the bracket, in the AFC, we have the Steelers going against the Chargers, which I think is going to be a very good game. Two very similar teams with two good defenses. That one could go either way. And then we have the Bills against the Broncos, which, no, the Broncos are not going to beat the Bills. The Bills are going to win that one. And then on the NFC, we have the Falcons against the Commanders, which I will say, I think the Commanders can beat the Falcons. I would love to see the Commanders win a playoff game just so we can get that off our back because we haven't won a playoff game since 2005. We've had such a great season. I would love for them to just win a playoff game just to get that monkey off their back. And then you have the Eagles against the Packers. The Packers did well as the number 7 seed last year, but I think they've been way too inconsistent. Jordan Love has been inconsistent. He's been injured. I don't think they've been consistent enough to upset a team like the Eagles. So what it's looking like is the Commanders are going to go against the Eagles, which we'll see how we do against them in this game coming up on Thursday, but I definitely think that's a winnable game. It'll be the third time we have played them. So who knows? Maybe we could beat them. Maybe we would move on to the conference championship. Can you imagine? The conference championship against the Detroit Lions. I don't think we would beat them, but the NFC runs through the Lions. I would be shocked if the Lions didn't make the Super Bowl because you're looking at all these other teams. Who's going to get there outside of them? The Eagles, maybe? I don't know. But then you have the Chiefs are probably going to face either the Bills or the Steelers in the conference championship, in my opinion. And the Bills have yet to show me that they can beat them. So right now, Lions and Chiefs are a very doable Super Bowl. Very, very possible. So that wraps up Week 11. Whew. That wraps up Week 11. We're nearing the end, folks. The playoff picture is starting to take shape. I just hope the Washington Commanders are a part of it. I'll see you guys later.